So do you want to start with a meme or?
I mean, you have several memes, so I was going to be surprised at which one you wanted to start with.
I am completely drawing a blank on everything I've texted you. So I mean,
that's all right.
I was about to say it's like all I did was I read the book.
So you have a meme that you sent me that the caption was "We are not the same," and underneath, and what was the guy's name? Was this from The Matrix?
No, it's the. I think it's from Breaking Bad. I'm blanking on Juan Carlo. I'm blanking on his name, on the actor's name, but yeah.
Very spiffy looking dude.
Yes, straightening his tie. It's a meme. What was the top line text?
All the listeners are screaming right now. So you said Brandon Sanderson knows how to write a climax. Sarah J. Maas knows how to write a climax. Yep. We are not the same.
It's true. It's true. Although, I mean, she did pretty good with the finale at ACOTAR, though. So
you haven't read the finale of ACOTAR.
I read the first book, ACOTAR, okay. A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Okay, the whole series is ACOTAR.
I can't help that.
Okay, it's like the Mistborn thing all over again.
Yeah, it is. So should we pause for music? Although now I've learned how to insert blank space.
Yeah, let's do the intro now.
Okay. Well, hello and welcome to Cosmere Casual, your casual reader's guide to, I guess Sarah J. Maas's ACOTAR series. I don't know. We're taking a detour out of the Cosmere.
Even more casual than
Even
Cosmere.
More casual.
And I'm your co-host, AJ Gorman.
Did I say my name? I'm Nick Gorman.
Sure.
I'm possibly literate. I don't know.
Maybe you said it twice. I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever. I'm Nick. Hi. And today we're doing a post-read. I finally finished reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first entry in A Court of Thorns and Roses. So, we're doing
it's a problem on our read. It's really the reader's problem. We can't keep a series straight. It's just easier for us to refer to a series by the first title of the first book. It's really our fault.
I mean, I don't know. Nobody calls the Stormlight Archives the Way of King series. It's Stormlight Archives. Same with Kingkiller Chronicles. Game of Thrones is an exception. That's always referred to as Game of Thrones, even though the series is A Song of Ice and Fire.
Harry Potter is a little different because every book is Harry Potter and
a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah. I think that's the best way.
Lord of the Rings
authors take note. That's just easiest on everybody. Just do that.
The Wheel of Time, first book isn't called Wheel of Time. Anyway, I'm just saying.
I feel like those are the exceptions that make the rule. Anyways, did you like it?
I did like it. I thought it was good.
Did it surprise you that you liked it? Because you were very hesitant to read
it. Maybe a little bit. I mean, like I said, like it was good. And now I'm starting to blur the lines between this first book and the second book in my head, I'm realizing, and I have no notes to try to keep things straight.
Okay, so the first book ends under the mountain.
Yes. She doesn't get back to Tamlin's court place.
Well, we don't see that on I don't think we see that on screen. We just see them saying that they're gonna
that they're gonna go home.
Yes. Because they've defeated Amarantha and they can go out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I liked it. I thought that there was that moment like 2/3 of the way through when Alice explains that, you idiot, you were supposed to say you loved him and then the curse would all be broken and we couldn't all talk about it. And because I can talk about it means it's all too late. And I was just like, because I mean, you knew that I was intensely skeptical of everybody.
It was so frustrating to hear you express your thoughts on this book because you picked up on everything that I didn't.
Everything? There was a lot that I was oblivious to also.
I mean, you immediately were just like, fairies can lie.
Yeah. Very well, because she kept harping on that, like, a fairy can't lie. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, obviously they're lying, like, because the way that they were talking was like full of just like idioms, and it's like, well, there's no way that this is 100%, like, it's not expected to be accurate. Like they're clearing, they're communicating clearly, but it's not.
But like,
right?
I read these books for pleasure, just to not think about anything. So I don't.
If you want a book where somebody actually can't lie, The Raven Tower, very good. Oh, love it, because
we already did episodes.
We
about
did.
That. Thank you.
But it's also a lot drier. I'm very much less sexy.
I am not skeptical at all. I just go in assuming every narrator is reliable, and I just take everything at face value. I'm a horrible reader. I realize that, but it's very upsetting to me that you read it and you're skeptical of everything and you catch everything.
Well, that wasn't. That's a new development for me. I'm feeling very proud of myself.
And I think that only happened because you were very hesitant about this book. So you were kind of looking at anything to complain about. I think that helped at the very least.
Maybe. I wasn't. Yeah, maybe. I don't want to admit how true that is. But yeah, I mean, and there were a few things. Do we want to go through, like, do we want to go through the book, or what's you have an outline for the episode?
Yeah, I do. All right, let's just talk about the setting just a little bit more, because I know there were some things that we talked about to clarify, and maybe other people would find that helpful.
I would say, like, I'm still pretty hesitant on a lot of the details about the setting, or I just don't have a firm grasp.
Yeah, so think of this planet world thing as having 3 continents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one continent is fully human controlled.
Okay,
and like no fairies. The second continent is mostly controlled by the Prithian Fae. Okay. There is a little sliver of human-controlled land,
and that's south of the wall.
But it's like it's a very small part of human lands.
Okay.
On this continent, away from the majority of humans.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the book, they're always talking about,
they're going to
the human continent and whatever.
Okay.
But Feyre's ancestral home is
so the war
across the wall on the same continent as Prithian.
So the war that happened, like, what was it, 100 years ago or whatever, that led to the wall separating the human land from Prithian?
Yeah.
Was that war just on that one continent, or was that the human realm in the other continent?
I think it was happening mostly everywhere, and the humans
World War fairies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the humans got an entire planet plus a little bit more.
You mean entire continent plus a little more?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's a third continent that doesn't really play into...
And that's
the first book. And Highburn. Yeah.
Okay. And that's all fairies.
Well, I mean, there are humans, but there are no
human slaves. Well, because they talk about that one in the whatchamacallit, the Sorial.
Yeah.
That
Surreal.
Yeah. Whatever. That creature explains Highburn to Feyre. So like it's
been a while since I've read this.
I think.
So anyway, so there's 3 major continents.
Okay, and so gotcha. Okay,
and then
because I especially in the second book, I was like, what? Huh? Okay, gotcha.
So of the 2 fairy continents, Prithian is much more quote unquote friendly to humans. Of the 2,
I was about to say, but even still, it's like, yeah, well.
Well, Prithian does not have human slaves like Highburn does.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way. All right, and then the second thing, which you notice continuously.
Yeah, that everybody's hot?
Yes.
Okay, I was about to say, is it everybody's hot, or everybody's trying to kill Feyre through incompetence, or things that look like incompetence?
I was thinking that everyone is hot.
Everyone's hot. Yeah, everybody's hot there.
Yeah, and there will be another thing that comes up later in the series where it's like, does everybody blah, blah, blah. We'll get there. Maybe we'll just do a post read of the entire series, because that would be a lot to do every book in the series when we're not actually talking about this.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not it's not the point of our podcast.
You were pretty annoyed by Feyre.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot.
Yeah.
Not, we don't like
What
perfect protagonists.
I'm trying to think. What were my annoyances in this first book? Like,
you thought she was dumb.
Well, she kept doing things that were not in the interest of self-preservation, right?
I mean, I think some of that is somewhat a parody of
Right.
romantasy series.
Really?
I mean, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah, I don't have any. This was my first romantasy book that I've read, so it's like I don't have any real history with any of the tropes. And
but I think it's also meant to highlight like how much she's being taken advantage of. I mean, she grew up a very hard 100%. Childhood, like no prior, like, well, I guess she has had one prior romantic relationship, but like she doesn't have a whole lot of experience, and then she's just
like
tossed
friends with benefits relationship. Yes. It seemed like, yeah.
But the fact that she doesn't have a whole lot of life experience, and then she's thrown in with all of these ancient people.
Yeah.
So I mean, of course, right. She's gonna make super dumb decisions, especially in comparison. And I think it's easy to forget that these people are ancient. So having her make mistakes and contrasting them more, I think, does make some sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I was complaining to AJ a lot about Pharaoh, right? But a lot of that was just like, no, you're gonna get yourself killed, kind of thing. Like you're screaming at the horror the horror movie character is like, no, don't go down in the basement with the lights off. Are you a moron, right? Things like that, where especially if you compare her to somebody like a Harry Potter, it's like, oh yeah, no, she's much more sensible than someone like that who just
Okay, she's also older than Harry Potter was at the beginning of the series. Okay, and you told me some interesting things about fairy lore, because you had asked me, do I need to know any fairy lore before I start this book? And I said no.
Well, and it's funny, like I thought about
anything that you need is explained.
I could have seen the thing about the curse keeping them from talking because the other thing after I finished reading this book was like, oh yeah, I guess I have read one other book, a fantasy book with fairies in it, and that was Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. And
I didn't read those.
Did you watch the TV show?
Some of it, and I was just very weirded out by it. It was too much for me.
Well, because yeah, I mean, I
don't remember how the fairies came in. All I remember is that whoever went to war came back and would not stop talking about it. That's all I remember from the series.
It's really good, whatever. But there is also, if you get a blessing or a curse from a fairy, one of the things is that you can't talk about it, right? And there's a character with that very prominently in Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Yeah. So if you would have remembered that, you would have seen that coming.
Yes.
And maybe less annoyed.
Yeah, and like, because all the stuff about the blight, it's just like, how are you patrolling a blight? Like, what? It's
That's
like,
what? Not how you fight a blight. You don't patrol.
I was about to say, well, it's like, or are you?
I mean, you kind of do because you want to keep people separated, but.
Well, it's like, are you going through and seeing like, hey, are you a leper? All right, kill you. It's like, is that it? But it's like, but also like, I don't know. I think some things just, it wasn't adding up. The math wasn't mathing.
And I told you to stick with it, and I said it will make sense later.
And you know what? It did. Kind of. I I might need to reread just to put all the pieces together, but yeah.
And I don't know if this is because it's romantasy and not just strictly romance, but things are definitely, or maybe it's because I'm an adult and not a child anymore, but things seem much more complicated with modern stuff. Like the plot lines
Talk on that.
Like the plot lines are much more involved. There's more twists. There's more turns. There's more characters. There's more multiverses.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It didn't seem particularly complicated. It didn't seem particularly simple,
I guess that was more for the entire series. Maybe we should wait on that comment.
Okay. I was about to say, it's like, I am starting to lose track of all the characters. There are a lot, but it's not, I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, this book feels like it has two halves. It has everything before the mountain that feels very much like Beauty and the Beast. And then you have Under the Mountain that is just kind of feels more strictly adventure fantasy, or...
I mean, bordering on grimdark, right?
Yeah.
Like I was about to say, there was an awful lot of dismemberment and... in
some ways I appreciate that, because like a lot of times.
Because you go for the body horror? Is that it?
No, but it's also frustrating that, like, you know, authors build up all the suspense and how horrible the bad guy is, and then you get there and they're like, well, the bad guy wasn't actually that horrible.
Yeah.
So I feel like they put on the gas up until the moment, and then they take their foot off the gas a lot of the times.
Well, there are a few things about Amarantha that didn't make sense to me, right? And I think I even texted you about them a couple times, where they explained how she got so much power in Prithian, and it basically involved the same trick over and over again, where she basically just like lied to people and tricked them and stole their power over and over and over again. And it's just like, why after like the first time or the second time, why was anybody trusting her at all, right?
Part of it is because she's a liege under the king of that third continent.
Yeah.
And to not offend him, you have to play nice with her.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there was definitely a first half and a second half, and it was not a seamless mix by any means, and some of that still kind of annoys me.
I don't find that annoying at all. I think having a stark contrast, because certainly there was a stark contrast for Feyre as a character too, right? Because from where we see going on, I'm like halfway through the second book at this point. Why do we keep recording episodes when I'm halfway through a book? Anyway,
because it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that was a formative moment for her as well, right? Like that's a key thing.
And it's also, I think it's also worth pointing out that Feyre feels and acts differently when she's with Tamlin versus when she's not with Tamlin.
Yeah,
like her strength of character comes out a lot when she's separated from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
But let's talk about the trials.
The trials, okay, yeah.
I really like the first trial with the worm, with the Middengard worm.
Okay.
You didn't, I don't think.
I mean, it didn't stand out particularly one way or the other. I thought, it showed how clever and resourceful Feyre is. It was one of those things where it's like, well, it's kind of basically perfectly set up for her, right? Where nobody else would have been able to survive it. But then, she not only survived, she killed the dang thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean...
I forget, did she have to kill her or did she just have to last so long?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think she was supposed to kill it. But, she did.
Yeah. In the second trial, she needs to read.
Well, she needs to solve a puzzle, but she can't read. And I thought that was masterfully done, right? Where she feels the anxiety, everything's crushing in on her, literally and figuratively. And she can't even read the she can't even get to the real trial, right? Because she can't read.
Yep.
And I perfect. And it was only, basically only because she had an insider, helping her that she made it through it all.
And how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that?
The fact that she cheated.
She didn't cheat.
I guess she didn't ask for help.
No. Well, and where was it said that she couldn't have any?
I suppose that's true.
I was about to say, it's life or death. You got to do what you got to do to survive, baby.
All right.
Yeah. No. Even if she did cheat, I wouldn't have blamed her for it. Come on.
I think
she agreed to the whole thing under duress.
I think the real kind of surprise for me was the third trial.
Yeah.
Or she actually legit killed two fairies.
Oh, I got a little bit more to say about the second one still.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Because I liked how that started to portray Rhys as not a bad guy, not wholly a bad guy, right? Because I think up until that point, he had been portrayed as either wholly bad or at least entirely self-interested, right?
There's what's been said about him.
Yes.
And then there are his actions.
Right. But neither one of those were, he seemed to take, delight and glee in in holding power over Tamlin and Lucian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And combine that with the things that have been said about him and the sorts of games the Night Court plays. Like it, he had a reputation, and he seemed to take great pride and joy in that reputation, right?
Certain aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a bit of it wasn't a straightforward kind of judgment call at all.
Yep. So that was where I was like, all right, I'm starting to like Rhys, right?
Yeah.
I don't. A lot of his character still doesn't make sense to me, but I accept that I'm halfway through the second book.
I forget who.
It's a lot to go.
I forget if it was pointed out in this book, but I think Rhys points it out. He's just like, how many times have your friends visited you? Like, how many times have they tried to help you? And Rhys has been the one that helped the most under the mountain.
Yeah. So, yes. I think that was.
And that was kind of really eye-opening.
Yeah.
As a reader,
I didn't buy his argument on that either, because it's not like everybody was chained in some way, right? And Rhys was only able to help because he had such a privileged position in Amaranth's court, right? So it's that is a self-serving argument, in my opinion, and it wasn't
until you remember that when Tamlin has a second, to spend with Feyre, he doesn't actually do anything to help her.
No,
which Rhys also points out.
Yep.
Okay.
So the third trial.
She legit kills 2 fairies.
Yeah.
She commits murder.
I don't agree with that one. Under duress, right?
Yeah, it's not cut and dry there, but she kills 2 fairies.
She kills 2 innocents,
yes.
Right? As far as she views them, they're innocents, right?
Talk about like breaking your soul.
Yeah, how do I like?
But that's not a move that I've seen anywhere else.
Okay.
I don't think. At least not what I've read.
I was about to say, I know it's been done on other things, but not in media that I've consumed either, right?
Right.
But yes, having guilt about killing people, yeah, that's a real thing, right? I think
innocence in particular.
Yeah, does Kaladin I think has some of that in the Cosmere. It's not as consistent, right? He gets more like shell shock, in bouts of it.
It's
right?
more aloof and more distant.
Yeah,
like we're not seeing the moment like we're seeing with Feyre.
Because
she has time to decide.
Yep.
Not a whole lot, but she has time. Like we hear her thoughts as she's trying to make her decisions.
Yep.
And then, did you see the Stoneheart thing coming?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I don't think I saw it either the first time.
Well, yeah, there were some things about the magic that I was just really confused by, and I'm hoping that it gets explained maybe a little bit more. The magic just seems very soft, whereas if coming from analyzing
with strict rule. Okay.
Yes, I was gonna say there's no strict rules, because I'm just like, his heart's made of stone. How does it? How does he have blood circulate? How do his super strong, handsome muscles, how do they get oxygen? Right? Does he not need oxygen? Does he not breathe? Like, it's a whole.
Okay, listen.
The circulatory system, like it. Yeah,
this is romanticy.
I know, I get it.
Freaking go with it.
Well, but it's like, and there were lots of things about like the glamours. It was just like, like it's if you take the existence of these types of magic and see them all the way through, like, what would that do to a society? It's like, well, I'm not advocating for prejudice and prejudicial discrimination and things like that, but like, if I knew that there was an entire class of people that could just completely fucking gaslight me like that, just what you see isn't real, like that I would be intensely mistrustful, probably hateful of them, right?
Luckily, this is Fae society.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
Well, what were you're asking a lot of questions about me. What was your reaction to what were your favorite moments in this book? I know this is.
I was shocked. Series. I didn't know. Like, I didn't think she would actually kill them.
Oh, you thought she'd find some, like, that's when she would. I
didn't know what was going to happen, but I was just like, you can't have a main protagonist kill 2 innocents, but apparently you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A counterexample of this would be like Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Where Aang like hems and haws, I can't kill the Fire Lord.
Yeah, and he doesn't.
He finds a way. You know, it's sort of a Deus Ex Machina the way he goes about it. But yeah, so you're kind of expecting something like that.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's
not
any
this bloodthirst. I mean, there wasn't bloodthirst, but
yeah, I guess I don't know because and I recognize that it is I recognize that there's a difference between, you know, basically the way, you know, in the execution of the thing, in terms of it's a little bit in cold blood, whereas you know, because I was about to say, it's like, well, she's killed fairies before, right? Because I mean, like, it's literally how she got into this mess when she killed Andrus, right?
Yeah, right.
But then,
so cute of you to remember his name.
You know,
he's so unimportant.
I mean, but also. But and also, I was really struck. One thing that really drives me nuts about this book, and I'm hoping gets explored again, maybe some more later. I don't know. The fairies are very casual with just killing people for little reason, no reason at all, right?
Oh, the lesser fae, you mean?
Any fairies, I thought, like they're just very casual.
Well, Amarantha was, yes.
And the Night Court, I don't know. They all seemed like, well, yeah. And I think my other example comes from the next book, but it seems like, you know, they're all very, they don't place a high value on life, especially when they talk about, you know, like, well, they've got really low birth rates, so every child's important. It's like, well, apparently only once they're children. Once they're, you know, once they get older, it's like, yeah, fuck them.
Well, because they live so long. We may have to revisit this later.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I can fully discuss this right now. I think you need to see more of the world.
Okay. Because yeah, even things like the Lucian's brothers, right? Like they were just cruel for no reason, right? And, you know, killing people left and right. Like, it's like, what? Why? Like, what?
We will have to wait to talk about that as well.
Huh. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so another example.
This is going back to his series becoming more complicated, more twists and turns.
Okay.
What did you think about Reese's reaction to Reese finding Feyre and Tam alone at one of those dinners under the mountain? Messing up the tattoos.
I didn't have a reaction to it. Whatever.
All right. What about Amarantha as the main villain? Good main villain? A little overdone?
I prefer when my villains are not evil for evil's sake, and she was definitely that.
I forget if you know her whole backstory yet, or if there's more.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, so you'll find out more about her story, so it's not as evil for evil's sake.
Okay. Interesting, because, like, she, you know, poor Claire, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was an innocent caught up in this.
Yep.
Any thoughts on Lucian?
I definitely had thoughts. I've lost track of them. I think I texted you about them a few times. I thought he was going to be set up to be a love interest for Feyre rather than Tam. If I'm being honest, at very first.
Oh, just wait.
Yeah.
You'll find out at the end of the second book.
Oh, interesting.
Not in the way you think, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you I don't forget if this is my thought or your thought, but his demeanor definitely turned pretty quickly after Tam was taken away. On the mountain, like when she came back or something. I don't. Never mind. The riddle. You did guess the riddle.
Well, I guess like a bunch of things, so that doesn't count because she only gets one answer, and I wasn't, you know, I was just like, it's gonna be something abstract, like death or love or sleep.
I don't think I guessed it,
and because she was thinking about specific poisons, I'm like, you know, girl,
that's too much.
Well, but also it's like, hey, on the other hand, like, take a step back. She's an illiterate youngest daughter. Like, she wouldn't be able to guess the answer to a riddle like that, right?
Yeah.
So similar to the second trial, it's just like she was never going to be able to get it without help. Although I guess she does, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Huh. at the very last moment.
Some quick points here. So as far as a comparison to Brando, there's focus on mental health, though it barely shows in the first book. It shows up more in the later books. I would say there's also a comparatively slow beginning.
Yeah.
Because you were just like, how long are we going to spend in this human world? Like, this is really slow. Because the first couple chapters.
Well, it's not just slow, it's bleak.
Yes.
And, to me, that's worse.
She did plan this series pretty thoroughly.
Okay, good.
So there are a bunch of Easter eggs here for the rest of the series.
And foreshadowing and stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Things like me noticing that certain things don't add up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a multiverse with some of her other book series.
Okay.
But that is, like, she just had her first crossover book published,
Okay.
like, within the last year. So that is still kind of in development, but that is also similar to Brandon. Okay.
So they're like the same author, just, Sarah J. Maas's, more sex. It's like erotic Brando Sando fan fiction almost.
Almost. Yeah. Except with fairies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all of her series are fairies.
Interesting.
Plus maybe some other creatures, but okay, but they're different worlds. I'm gonna read a couple of choice text messages that you sent me.
Okay.
Oh god, they went from angry to angsty to romance in like no time at all.
Yeah, which didn't make sense at the time because it was like, why? Anyway, go on ahead.
Does Vega ever stop being a total moron because she's such a teenager?
Well,
and I said eventually.
To be fair, I say that about any book with teenage protagonists being believable teenage protagonists. I'm not looking forward to the kids turning into teenagers.
Okay, and then please do not go on a whole rant. So fairies celebrate the equinox with a magical orgy? Have they all gone insane from syphilis?
Well, yeah.
And then you thought about it some more and you're like, wait a minute. They're describing the equinox as the longest day of the year.
Yeah.
And you were very upset about that because that is not true.
It's not. That's like literally the opposite of what the equinox is. It's when... whatever.
And then you said, also, I'm increasingly aware that the Soriel was very non-specific about which High Lord she needs to stay near.
Yeah.
Which upsets me to no end, and you don't know why yet.
Well, yeah, because the Soriel just told her to stay near the High Lord. And it's like, well... Like, obviously that means, the context at the time is, okay, stay near Tamlin. But then it's like, well...
that's not her only option.
Yeah. Well, and it's like also stay near doesn't necessarily mean be romantically involved with, right? It's just
that is also true.
Be in physical proximity.
All right, and I'll end with one last one. Oh, actually, no, I'll do two. Because you kept saying, "Oh no, she's hot," but it was also also said that you said that for like every male character that came across, but also meeting the Lady of the Autumn Courts. Oh no, she's hot.
Yeah.
All right, here's the last one.
And then Amarantha was like the only not hot character. Explicitly. I'm just like, huh. Anyway, continue.
And then your last one was, ACOTAR is a pretty good listen.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I did enjoy it. Like I said, I like the twist. I like having a twist like that makes you reconsider everything you read so far. It's like, okay, the blight wasn't really a blight. Huh.
Yeah.
Nice. No, it's good.
And everything the Soriel says.
Which I've completely forgotten, so oh well.
All right.
Yeah. So thanks for podcasting with me, dear. And thanks
for podcasting with me.
And thank you, listeners, or audience, I guess, video. Hi. Yeah. Our email, YouTube, Instagram, I don't know.
Everything.
Well, we don't have a TikTok, and it might or might not be a thing.
Okay, we're never going to have a TikTok.
Cosmere Casual.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com, whatever. The appropriate thing after that, whatever. Our intro and outro music is licensed through Tribe of Noise. The artist is Ketsa, and the song is Odyssey.
And until next time...
Theories can lie, right?
It's better when I have notes, huh?
Yeah.